All right, YouTube. Gary Johnson has been chosen as the Libertarian Party's presidential candidate. This was more or less expected. Peterson and McAfee both got a surprisingly large number of delegates on the last ballot as well, but Gary Johnson managed to get over the threshold that he needed. This is a person who is considering a former Republican, Bill Weld, who was anything but a libertarian, many years ago. He's sort of a convert to libertarianism, as is prospective vice presidential person. Now, I don't know currently. I was watching the live stream. I watched Gary Johnson's acceptance speech, and I watched the final vote come in and so forth. But I don't know right now, as of making this video, whether they chose who the VP will be. They use some sort of token-based system for this, delegate-wise. It seems like a fairly good idea. It's decent, I guess. I think Johnson's argument is Bill Weld, as a more major name from a major party in the past, has more experience fundraising and sort of can get things working. You got to realize the Libertarian Party right now is massively growing. That is, in a single election cycle, it went for, well, in 3 election cycles, it went from getting pushed to the sidelines by the prevalence of Ron Paul in 2012, and then in 2008, sorry, I believe. No, wait, I'm getting it all mixed up. Never mind. I want a do-over here. In only a few election cycles, they've massively grown support to the point at which it's polling at like 10% right now. Now, some of this will slack off as partisans filter back into their parties. That process is not yet done, and we still don't have a Democratic nominee yet. Sanders is pushing it to the very limit, campaigning to the end. I believe Clinton will still get it. Sanders needs like, what, 3/4 of the remaining delegates. I don't think he can get it. If Sanders runs as an independent, it actually would be bad for the libertarian movement. It'd be great for Trump, and it'd be terrible for the libertarian movement, because I would think that a sizable proportion, not all, maybe not even a majority, but a lot of those really who have a problem with Hillary Clinton primarily because she's financed by Wall Street and big banks and is a complete authoritarian war hawk, I'd think they'd flock to the Libertarian Party. I see Gary Johnson taking more potential votes from the Democrats than from the Republicans. This is just another reason why I support him. I think Trump is superior to Clinton. And Sanders, has no chance anyway, so he's a non-issue at this point. Trump is superior to Clinton. Not by perhaps a great margin, because, again, I'm a libertarian and I'm not a paleocon sort of individual who can say, oh, well, overlook Trump's blessing of the NSA and domestic surveillance and stuff like that. I can't do that. I can't compromise my conscience enough to do that. I think he's smarter than Clinton. I think on the economy he'd do a lot better. But then again, the Republicans always set up a better economic situation than the Democrats when they're not busy spending our money bombing people. Unfortunately, that happens to be a proclivity of theirs. I think Gary Johnson's a good candidate. He has some name recognition. He had run before. If Bill Weld is his VP nominee, that would probably be good for his overall numbers. He might even get in the debates. Now, if the Libertarian Party actually makes it to the presidential debates, you're going to see another Ross Perot situation. However, again, as I said before, I happen to believe ultimately the libertarian message is more likely to convert young Democrats than any other group. They're disaffected by the establishment DNC. They're not on board with Hillary Clinton largely. They see her as essentially Bush light, which is what Obama is too. I don't know why they supported him, other than Bush was so bad they just wanted to wander over to the Democratic Party. But I think Johnson would do better among them than with Republicans. Now, there'd be some like Ron Paul holdouts certainly that would rather back him, I think. But ultimately, I think it would tip the election towards Trump, number one, and number two, the Libertarian Party suddenly would become a major party within the United States. It already kind of is. If that polling's anywhere close to accurate, if it's anywhere near 10%, it's already basically a major party. This is what people need to comprehend. I can't vote for the lesser of two evils anymore. I think Gary Johnson is more of a pragmatic libertarian like myself. I'm not an abolish all taxes, abolish all regulations, get rid of all trappings of government, let's just basically be anarchists under a different title. I'm not that kind of libertarian. I'm not a purist. I understand pragmatism. I think Johnson does as well. And I think that having a more pragmatic candidate as opposed to someone who's basically just grandstands like McAfee or someone who's more of a purist, I don't think that that would work very well going forward. This is a perfect election cycle for the Libertarian Party to break out of like this single-digit doldrums that it's been in. Its registration is rising, its polling is way up. There are an enormous number of people, many tens of millions of people, even partisans, within the Republican and Democratic camps and many independents who will not vote for Trump and they will not vote for Hillary Clinton. They will not vote for him. The Libertarian Party will be on the ballot in all 50 states at this point. Therefore, simply having the Libertarian candidate there and being able to make some semblance of a coherent speech is probably going to get the Libertarian Party to a magnitude more votes than it had the last time around, which is enough to declare it a major party. It will be in every debate. It will be privy to the kind of electoral systems that the two so-called major parties are part of. Because let's face it, at this point in our movement as a nation, most people understand government is not the solution to much of anything. It's at most a necessary evil, and that's at most. And sometimes it's not even a necessary evil, it just claims to be necessary, like with domestic surveillance. Domestic surveillance is not a necessary evil, it's just an evil. It's a perturbation of the Constitution, it's unlawful. The only reason people deal with it is they've been told that, oh, well, only traitors would have a problem with this. If you have nothing to hide, then you shouldn't see a problem with this, which is exactly the opposite of what our founders would have believed. Our economy's in the shitter right now. We do need a free market solution. The Republicans don't go far enough. The Republicans don't go far enough on anything anymore. Actually, the Republicans are so cucked, the establishment Republicans, not so much like the old guard conservatives like Trump maybe, that are a little more progressive here and there, but at the same time they're going to stick to their guns literally. But the establishment Republicans are so cucked they won't do anything to defend the nation anymore. They won't even raise half a dozen different issues because they're afraid of being called like bigoted or xenophobic or something. Libertarianism opens you up to actually debate these issues, not really give a damn what label someone tries to apply to you, because you can believe whatever the fuck you want. It can be expressed like this. The Libertarian doesn't care what you're doing if you're not asking the government for money to do it, or if you're using some sort of abuse or fraud to try to get other people that don't want to be involved to pay for it or take part in something. Everything should be voluntary whenever possible. There should be no draft. That's another thing that's rearing its ugly head as we enter what perhaps will be our most violent century in the history of mankind. And I do believe that, by the way. I think by 2100, I think that we'll probably be back in the Copper Age, unfortunately. That's why we need a massive amount of reform. We can either go forward and have a free world and actually stand for something, not just nation building or we're going to be multicultural bullshit paradise. We have to stand for freedom. That's what we were founded upon. If we can't do that, there's no reason for us to even bother safeguarding our borders, because what the fuck do we mean as a nation? Why take pride in a nation where you're not free, where you're not a citizen, you're just sort of a subject or a half-assed serf or something? I can't take pride in that. Right now, the way things are, you can have pride in your country, but if you have any pride in the standing government of the United States, whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans, then you've got some serious issues going on. There is not one of them, hardly, that's worth anything. None of them should be in office. Some of these people are only even there. Nobody even knows what they fucking believe in. They don't do anything. They just show up for work once in a while. They just keep getting voted back in because they were elected back in the 60s or something. It's retarded. These people are miscreants. They're the worst among us. They shouldn't be the ones representing American values. They obviously don't know what they're doing. They experience never-ending partisan gridlock on things that should be no-brainers, and on things where there should actually be debate because there's a constitutional issue or something, they're all completely united. You look at surveillance or something like that. It's like their minds go out to lunch when the debate comes up on such things. So I will be supporting Gary Johnson. I do support the Libertarian Party. I think he's the right choice. Again, you can debate all day over, oh, what are the finer points of libertarianism? What should our position be on issues X, Y, and Z? that's great. You've got to actually get libertarianism into a position so that it can maneuver and so that you can vet candidates properly on a national stage. You have to do that before you can have any possibility whatsoever of having a major party with a lasting impression that's something more than a joke to the mainstream media and to those within DC. That's about all. Peace out.